Alright, well, since we did part 1, let's go ahead and do part 2. Power Rangers, Time Force, History of Power Rangers. Come on. There we go.
Carter is brought back to the clock tower and explains the situation to the others. We also learn what the Lightspeed Rescue Rangers have been up to as Carter calls them back into action. While Dana became a doctor, Joel and Dr. Fairweather got married.
Hawaii, here we come.
I can't wait. Nothing is gonna spoil our honeymoon. Whatever it is gonna have to wait.
What is it, Carter? I see. He'll be right there.
Kelsey is doing what she always does, and Chad is a lifeguard. Viper starts the spell, but Carter and Wes head in to interrupt it, grabbing the amulet.
You!
I see you're still keeping bad company.
Viper's stupid car is back as well, and she chases after them, disabling the rescue jeep. They're cornered by Vipra, but before Carter can destroy the amulet, Nadira shows up with the other Rangers captured. Vipra finishes the ceremony, summoning the super demon. However...
Those are my friends.
They're the Lightspeed Rangers.
Then Eric shows up with Ryan. That came out of left field.
Wait! That makes sense, though. Where was Ryan, though?
I've been waiting for this for a long, long time.
Let's do it! Ready? Ready! Lightspeed Rescue! Titanium power!
I love Ryan. I still love Ryan to this very day, yo.
Ready? Ready! Time for! Time for! Quantum power! Lightspeed! Rescue! Time for! Time for!
Oh, this is badass. I admit, I don't like the versions of the theme songs they used for the morphing. It would have been better if they had done it like the last two team-ups with the full orchestral. But this is still an awesome episode. While the two teams aren't as in sync as the Space and Galaxy Rangers, just the fact that the groups are spending more time together is a plus. There's no distracting little kid, and all of the original actors are present.
Right.
The teams are great together, and the combined battleizer weapons managed to destroy Vipra and the Super Demon.
Right, that was badass.
That was a bit anticlimactic. They bring the Lightspeed Rangers back to the clock tower.
I thought you guys came from the future. This place looks kind of old.
Ah, I see Joel's natural charm hasn't changed. As a token of appreciation to each other, the groups give each other's uniforms to their opposite number.
You got the jackets, now try the dance.
You ready? Yes. Lightspeed Rescue!
Time for Lightspeed isn't as good as To the 10th Power, of course, but then again, those are some pretty big shoes to fill. However, it was leagues above Trakina's Revenge, simply by having the episode focus on the Rangers instead of a one-off little girl. There were some rewrites and cuts, including that there was now a second Lightspeed Aquabase and that Ryan was in command of it. We don't know what happened to Captain Mitchell, though his actor is the voice of the Super Demon, and we never learn how and when Ryan met up with Eric, the Time Forces Rangers' reaction to the existence of past Rangers, how Carter knew about Viper's return, or how he knew who the Time Force Rangers were. Like I said, the ending is a bit anticlimactic, especially with how they built up the Super Demon, and I really think this should have been a two-parter, but for what we got, it was good. There seemed to be a shift in Eric's personality after he stopped himself from leaving, though what exactly inspired this change, I can't be certain. He was more willing to help the Rangers and started going off on his own without the backup of the Silver Guardians to aid them. Sure, he'd always helped the Rangers in a pinch, but he wasn't as rude and standoffish towards them anymore. It's kind of subtle, and I do compliment the creators on it if that was their intention. In the filler episode Circuit Unsure, we learn that Circuit is capable of peering into the future, and from the prodding of the others, he looks ahead 1 month and sees several portals opening up over Silver Hills. However, before he can tell the Rangers, Alex suddenly cuts off access to the knowledge, claiming later that the knowledge would jeopardize their mission. The penultimate episode before the finale is A Calm Before the Storm. Rancic, to his frustration, has discovered that he has no more mutants to send against the Rangers. The Rangers realize this as well and are excited by the prospect of going home. Save for one of them.
Don't tell me that you're gonna miss this drafty old clock tower.
Actually, there's a lot I'm gonna miss.
At Biolabs, they've discovered that a byproduct of their research can be formed into a powerful crystal, one that subsequently powers Frax's new robot. Eric informs the Rangers and they're worried since the crystal isn't supposed to be discovered for another 100 years. I should note that a good chunk of the episode is a clip show. However, it's a clip show done well, since there's actually a lot of its own plot to deal with and serves as character development too. Wes reveals to his father that the Rangers are from the future and that he has to stop the research. What I really like is that Mr. Collins is clearly thinking about it, and their relationship has changed since the show began.
I gotta go, Dad. Go.
Turns out the attack is by Frax and his robot. After Eric defeats the robot, Rancic starts hunting for Frax's base, and Mr. Collins hands over the crystals to Wes. However, at the end of the episode, they get a call from Alex.
According to the history banks, you saved the future. But you don't survive to make it back.
The season comes to a close in the three-parter The End of Time. So the Doctor travels back to Earth to confront the Master, having been warned by the Ood. The Master has been resurrected by a cult of his former... sorry, wrong notes here. Alex explains that while the details are unclear, there is a chance to save them. He's going to send the time ship to take the 4 future Rangers back to the future and leave Wes alone to confront the oncoming threat.
I suggest you prepare to return. You must leave before the time hole begins to open. And Wes, I'm sorry.
Rancic, meanwhile, dispatches every Cyclobot under his control to find Frax. The other Rangers tell Wes that they refuse to return to the future.
If you can make your own destiny, then so can we.
We're gonna stay and fight. Together.
We're team Wes. No matter what happens.
Frax creates one final robot. Meanwhile, Trip and Nadira get into a fight at a clothing store, but they make a truce when a pregnant woman is about to have her baby. Trip forces Nadira to help, and seeing the new child makes her wonder if maybe humans aren't so bad after all. Nadira asks her father why they hate humans so much, but they're interrupted when Frax's base is discovered, and the first time we ever see the Cyclobots speak. Cyclobots must be based on Quantrons, I guess. Rancic confronts Frax and he's recaptured. Seeing the giant robot, Rancic gets an idea. Nadira, in the meantime, starts playing with some children at the park. Alex orders Jen to leave, but she shuts off the transmission. Nadira goes to the imprisoned Frax and asks why humans and mutants hate each other.
Oh, hate. There's a subject I know very well indeed. Humans rejected your father and taught him to hate. Then he destroyed me, and soon I was filled with hatred as well. It's a vicious cycle that never ends, Nadira!
But I'm not sure if I hate all humans.
Ha! Don't make me laugh! You're an evil mutant with a heart as black as coal, just like your father! Now get out of my sight! You sicken me!
The Cyclobots enter and take Frax away. But...
I'm sorry for what my father did to you, Dr. Varix.
What? Nadira, wait! Wait, I was wrong! You don't have to hate! You can break the cycle of hatred! Never give up! Never give up!
Jesus.
Later, Frax is reprogrammed by Rancic to be completely obedient and robotic, much to Nadira's horror. Wes goes to his father.
In case anything happens in the future, I just want you to know how proud I am to be your son.
After going to the time ship, Wes spots the autopilot for the ship. Meanwhile, Frax is turned into the robot's pilot. The time holes begin appearing all over the city, and the Rangers quickly head out. Wes, however, stays behind for a moment to study the manual for the ship's autopilot. The Q-Rex engages the robot, and because of the time holes, they can't send the Megazord. Circuits analysis indicates that the crystals that power both machines are what's causing the time holes to open. Eric refuses to withdraw the Q-Rex, or else the city will be destroyed. Wes says he has an idea on how to use the time ship and brings the Rangers back to it. However, he then activates the autopilot to send them back to the future, ending part 1. Before Jen can say that she loves him, the time ship takes off for the year 3000. Wes returns to the battle as the Q-Rex is defeated, Eric crawling out of the wreckage. The Cyclobots close in on him, but Wes comes to his rescue.
I was managing just fine, thanks.
No, you weren't.
Wes finally asks him what his deal is.
What is it with you? For years I've tried to be your friend, but you don't want anything to do with me.
My friend. You don't even know the first thing about me, Wes. I had nothing. I was dirt poor. And I have struggled for as long as I can remember to pull my life out of the gutter. No one helped me. Not even for 1 minute. You and I have nothing in common.
No. We may have grown up differently, but we have a lot in common. We both fought to change our destinies, and we both succeeded. Look at this. We are Power Rangers, Eric. And friends or not, we're the only hope this city has right now.
The Rangers arrive in the year 3000.
Welcome back, Rangers. I'm glad to see you came to your senses.
They
Return to where you
They
belong.
got tricked.
Whoa, take it easy, Jen. Travel 1,000 years. It'll be a little disorienting. Now that you're home, you can relax. Enjoy the life you left behind.
Mr. Collins is informed by his head scientist about how the crystals are responsible for the vortices, and he arrives to help people who have been injured in the fight as he searches for Wes.
Use my car. Get these people to a hospital.
Alex informs the others that Wes didn't survive the fight, but he did win.
Jen, I know. This must hurt. But after you go through memory adaptation, you feel a whole lot better.
Memory adaptation?
Standard procedure. Whenever someone travels back in time, we have to erase their memories to acclimate them back to the present. When it's done, you won't remember a thing about the year 2001.
Why do future utopias do this so damn much? Like, that's gonna be the actual thing that keeps people sane.
Yeah, they want them not to remember certain things, like loved ones that they left behind.
But that's wrong. That's actually wrong.
It's life, because what if someone really from the future came back and that actually changed the future? Well, it's not going to really change it. All it's going to do is make a branching path of something else. Basically, it's the what if theory, basically. Like, what if this happened instead of this?
I would still like to remember what I did.
Good or
traveling, bad. Yeah, good or bad, traveling back to the past or the future. At least remember what I did.
But because of time and history and the nature of the world, you're going to forget. Yeah, I know, it sucks.
Wes brings Eric back to the clock tower, but a Cyclobot spots them, Rancic leading his forces in an attack on the tower. The Cyclobots storm in and they fight the two, but of course they're vastly outnumbered. Though I've got to say, they put up a damn good fight. Wes grabs one of the Rangers' guns and starts shooting down the Cyclobots, but realizing the situation, he sets the gun on overload, and then this.
Going up.
Mr. Collins has been searching for his son through the night, finally reuniting with the two that morning. Eric spots a Cyclobot about to shoot them and takes the blast for them, unmorphed. Eric hands over his quantum morpher to Wes as Mr. Collins takes them to safety. Wes charges in against the Cyclobot's unmorphed, just to show his bad attitude as the other Rangers are about to have their memories erased.
No! I don't want to forget. In fact, I'm going back to help him.
Jen, just wait.
I'm with you, Jen.
We all are.
Don't try and stop us.
I don't want you to go. You can be destroyed.
We have to. Don't you see? How can we live our lives knowing that it cost Wes his?
Right. Technically, if your memories are erased, you won't know he did. But it's the moral purpose of it, and the fact that what you said about his ancestors. If Wes dies, he can't exist.
Pretty much.
So it's pointless. You'd still lose a life. You'd still be erased.
And all the history of Wes's generation.
Bloodline just evaporated because Wes technically doesn't have any brothers and sisters.
No brothers.
It was just him.
Or he didn't have a fiance and wife, so that's another thing.
Yeah, she won't marry you, dog.
Megazord. Use jet mode. It's got the best chance of making it through a vortex.
Thank you.
In the meantime, Wes has morphed, though surrounded by hundreds of Cyclobots, he's still outnumbered and outgunned. Part 2 ends with the other Rangers charging in to go back. The Rangers fly back in the Megazord and arrive in time to save Wes from the Cyclobots. They manage to destroy the robotic forces and reunite. Wes starts explaining that he knows how to save the city. Nadira asks her father again why they can't just leave, but Rancic says that he won't leave until all the humans are destroyed. The Rangers adapt the Quantum Defender to disable the crystals, and they do the same to Frax's robot, destroying it. In the blast, Frax is killed as well. Nadira finally calls out her father on his cold, callous behavior, and he tosses her aside, enraged at the loss of all his forces and the insubordinate words of his daughter. The Rangers move to face Rancic head-on. However, he just storms through them, hitting them hard enough to demorph them, save for Wes, who initiates his battleizer. However, Rancic still manages to fight him off too, though the explosion wounds and weakens him. Jen stands against him.
My mission is to bring you back. And I promise you, I'm going to do it!
Don't make promises you can't keep.
The rest of the Rangers are unable to stand with her, so she walks off.
Come and get me!
Rancic pursues, but it's also where Nadira is helping to protect the baby who is in the crossfire. Jen manages to blast Rancic, who discovers to his horror that he accidentally shot Nadira.
Jesus.
Upon realizing what his hate for humans almost cost him, Rancic surrenders to the Rangers.
Yeah,
Wes says his farewell to the
died
Rangers, the Silver Guardians there to see them off.
Better take it easy on that racetrack, Lucas.
Well, at least now I have a driver's license.
Yes, fine. He didn't even have a driver's license. He was allowed to join the force.
Wes, you're the best.
Gosh, you better take that hug. Shit.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I'm actually gonna miss your hugs.
Goodbye, Wes.
Wow, you better take the hug. Shit.
Once your back breaks, that is.
And so what? Man, look, you gotta appreciate the hug when you get him.
I know.
I appreciate it, but I don't want my back to break.
There's a thing called
Can I keep my hat?
going to the doctor, bro.
And if it breaks to a point you can't walk that's just fine. That's just fine. You said
I died how I lived.
Bye,
Take care of Trip, Circuit.
Always have, always will.
Now this. They should have kissed in this. I don't care.
I wish you could stay.
Me too. But we both know I can't. I want you to have this, Wes. Don't ever forget me.
You never could.
I should have told you this a long time ago. I love you.
I love you too. I wish I could live another 1,000 years so we could be together again.
She honestly was the dopest Pink Ranger we've ever had. The dopest one.
Yeah, I have to say, yeah.
Well, not just the like the toughest one. Like seriously.
That pizza is digesting very, very oddly for me. Hold on.
Okay, hold on. Let me get through this. This is hot.
You okay?
It's an old man. Yes, he's gotta have that fatherly bond moment with his son.
I don't know.
Well, I got a business proposition for you. Now, wait. Now, just hear me out. I want to make some changes in the Silver Gardens. Listen to me. We will protect the entire city for free. I need a good leader. What about it?
I'll do it. But I want Eric as my partner. What do you say?
Y'all can work together.
Would have been my choice.
That'd have been your choice.
I think the future is pretty bright.
The end of the episode also has a brief preview of the next season, but that's not what we're here to talk about. Time Force is a very good series.
It is.
But I think a lot of the fan base has overblown it a bit. Acting-wise, everybody turns in a very good performance for their characters, save for Lucas, but I'll get to that when we get to the characters. The story moves at a very good pace, but there are tons of plot holes that are never properly addressed in the series. One of the things that people have said about the series to me is the fact that Rancic is so sympathetic. Except he isn't. At all. Rancic isn't some glorious freedom fighter trying to help mutant kind have better lives. We're not talking about Magneto here. Rancic just wants to cause general anarchy, chaos, and destruction.
Yeah.
He never talks about trying to help make things better for mutants, nor do we see any evidence that he's actually anything other than a criminal. We don't really see why that is either. Now, he says it's because humanity shunned him, but that's completely contrary to the flashback with Frax. A human displays immense kindness to him and provides a treatment for his condition, caused by a fellow mutant, I should add. And what does Rancic do? Laughs that the guy's a fool and burns down his lab with the intent of killing him. There's a difference between having a sympathetic backstory and actually being sympathetic. Rancic has a sympathetic backstory, shunned for being different. However, his consistent behavior completely justifies people's fears about him. Some have speculated that alterations to the series were made after 9/11 to make Rancic seem less sympathetic, but the truth is most of the series was completed and aired before 9/11. The only real change we know about is an edit to the 4th episode where a shot of buildings exploding is changed to a quarry explosion. Frax, on the other hand, has a sympathetic backstory, and it could be argued that he's a lot more of a sympathetic character. When he was rebuilt as a robot, one could say that, to paraphrase Doctor Who again, his very soul was surgically removed. You see flashes of humanity in Frax, particularly near the end when Nadira apologizes to him for everything that's happened to him, and even calls him by his human name. There is no such humanization, for lack of a better term, for Rancic until the very end. His only humanizing factor is his love for his daughter and seeing that he almost hurt her in his blind rage. It's rather anticlimactic for this whole big series, but I give it points for being different than just a big battle or something. At first I thought the relationship between Nadira and Rancic was just off-kilter comedic relief, but in all honesty, he's a very unique father. Sure, he was always spoiling her, but then in the episode Nadira's Dream Date, we see something you wouldn't normally suspect. Nadira gets the wrong impression that Lucas is in love with her, and while Rancic is at first irritated by this news, his daughter's happiness is paramount. He goes to Lucas and, threatens him to treat her right, but then actually helps him on the date, and when his monster attacks, he actually interferes in the fight to tell it and the Cyclobots to not attack him. Yes, he loves his daughter so much that he was willing to put aside his hatred for the Rangers, one Ranger at least, in order to keep Nadira happy. Like I said, in a normal situation, he'd forbid her to see him, probably try to kill him for daring to pursue a relationship with her, etc., etc. As such, while it's kind of a silly, stupid filler episode, it helps build the idea that he does care about her more than anything else. Something else different in this season that really made me raise an eyebrow was how the Time Force was vehemently against killing monsters. Mind you, they technically aren't monsters in the same way they were in the old days, but mutants, which could mean they're severely mutated humans or just some other form of life. But it's considered immoral to kill them, as demonstrated in Jen's Revenge when a mutant continually insults her over the supposed death of Alex and she's ready to kill it. Mind you, it undercuts your theme a bit when you freeze them the exact same way you destroy them, i.e. shooting them a whole bunch, but hey, it does the job. Another point that people bring up about the series is that it talks about such things as racism because of the people's reaction to Rancic and the mutants at large. Sadly, I must again disagree. Racism, in one allegory or another, is brought up all of once. Trip Takes a Stand, which features a mutant that was in the cryo prison for petty theft and doesn't want to fight, but just to stay in the prison so he doesn't have to worry about feeding himself or the like.
Right.
If they had done some more with that, more episodes centering around prejudice in some regard, where we saw mutants being oppressed and West was against what will be normal attitudes in the year 3000 or something like that, I may have bought into it, but we're given no reason to believe that mutants aren't treated as anything but fairly in the future, especially when we see 2 episodes where mutants do have equal rights and they're squandered. One was Jen's former partner, and the other was in The Last Race, who seemed like an ordinary sort of person, except he was determined to race fast cars and defeat Luke at racing, and didn't much care about causing destruction or anything. Subsequently, credit where credit is due for giving us a believable reason why the main villain only sends out one monster at a time. Rancic is powerful, yes, but if he unleashed the full amount of mutants in the prison at once, it's very likely they would have gone, why the heck should we follow your orders when we outnumber you 100 to 1? Lucas is the least developed, so we'll talk about him first. His character basically revolved around his driving and his quote-unquote coolness. He's popular with women, he acts suave, and cares a lot about his appearance. He undergoes no significant change other than his basic nobility, like with the other Rangers. His acting was just kind of there. Trip is kind, trusting, compassionate, but a little ditzy and clumsy. As the kindest, it also makes sense that it was his intervention that caused Nadira's change of heart about humanity. He is brave and is willing to sacrifice himself to protect the innocent, as he did during the aforementioned episode with the petty criminal who wanted to be frozen again. His telepathy was useful, though underutilized in my humble opinion. It seemed like he would be the most useful in hunting down Rancic, though I can't recall a single instance where the Rangers actively attempted to locate the cryo prison and go after Rancic. Katie is my favorite character of the Time Force, but also sadly underdeveloped. She had a very good episode dedicated to her character development, Future Unknown, where Circuit first reveals that time is changing thanks to their presence. Before that point, Katie had been confident, friendly, and rather unsubtle in facing off against what she saw as injustice. Future Unknown caused her to start rethinking her actions out of fear that the alterations to history would prevent her from being reunited with her family. I should note, though, that apparently some episodes were shown in the wrong order, and an episode where she went back in time and made some minor alterations deliberately was shown after Future Unknown, making it rather head-scratching given how she was previously emotionally paralyzed from doing any action out of fear of changing the timeline. And then she goes back in time and beats up some bullies and telling a guy to man up even though history says he wasn't supposed to. Nah, the space-time continuum could frankly go ram it. Which leads into a gripe with the series I have regarding the time travel. Repeatedly we're told that their actions are altering history, and we do hear of some specific examples, like the Silver Guardians or the Rame tank, but when Alex says they've done serious damage to the future, we never learn of what that means exactly.
Right.
His character acts differently, and it doesn't seem likely that he would have survived the injuries sustained from Rancic. The only answer that would have made sense to me is that the timeline changes actually brought him back to life, but that's never said. Would have made a heck of a kicker, though, making the Rangers question their actions about what they should or shouldn't be doing. Jen was serious-minded, a leader, and a skilled fighter. Definitely a change from the traditional Pink Ranger, who's usually the happy-go-lucky type.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
While there was always
She was
confusion about whether or not it was Wes or Jen who was the leader, even if Wes was supposed to lead, Jen was at least second in command and tended to be the one who actually was trying to push them to complete their missions. Her relationship with Wes is built over time and very well done, though that's gotta be kinda creepy, like dating a younger version of your boyfriend's grandfather. It's still kinda squicky. She started off as the most determined to bring Rancic to justice and the easiest one to get rattled because of the loss of Alex. By the end, she's not exactly lighthearted, but she is more inclined to have some fun with her teammates. Wes, when he started, was just average, a bit fun-loving, but had a good heart. However, learning of all the possibilities of the future, as well as seeing what kind of man his father was at first, was what put him on the course to alter his destiny. He didn't change very much, but he definitely grew more confident and learned that people aren't always what they seem, as he learned from his father, from Eric, and possibly even from Rancic at the end, or next season, but we'll get to that. Eric, of course, started out with a chip on his shoulder and always determined to do things his way.
Yeah.
Envious, jealous, headstrong, and as a result made a good anti-heroic foil for the Rangers. Like I said earlier, I'm not sure what it was that caused him to mellow out in the latter half of the season, but it was gradual, and he did actually care about the Rangers' safety, even if he didn't want to admit it. Something of interest to note is that originally, Alex was going to be the Quantum Ranger. He would travel back in time, and Wes and Alex were supposed to be played by twins. That idea was changed, of course, and all the better, I think. Sure, Alex creates a whole bunch of plot holes, but I can't imagine an actor similar to Wes playing the more aggressive Eric. Another thing to note is that originally Eric was supposed to die like his Sentai counterpart. They even filmed the beach scene at the end of Time Force without him before it was changed around to him surviving. It was apparently a rather expensive series, thanks to the production having to close down some sections of LA during filming of the more elaborate battles to match the Sentai footage as closely as they could. Speaking of monetary issues, the series was also apparently planned to have 10 additional episodes, as well as the potential for a movie, but fear of a then-upcoming Screen Actors Guild strike cut the series back as well as the film. Overall, Time Force succeeded because the story was entertaining, the acting was above average for Power Rangers, owed to many of the cast having previous acting credits under their belts, and the action was good. The series is, of course, about predestination versus free will. Do we have control over our destiny, or, in fact, should we have control over our destiny? Ultimately, the decision is free will, damn the consequences. But that's hurt by the fact that, as I said, we don't see any actual damage to the future that this is supposedly causing. Still, the idea of overcoming adversity and deciding for oneself who they are and what's their ultimate fate is very much a part of the season, and probably helped secure its position as one of the most beloved of all Power Rangers. It is, by no stretch of the imagination, a bad series. It is a great, entertaining ride from start to finish, and I enjoyed it immensely. It is not, however, my favorite season. That remains, at the time of this video, to be in space. Nor do I think of it as the single best season of the show. Not only do I not feel it to be that great, I still have 8 more seasons to watch to decide that. I do think it's better than Lightspeed Rescue by virtue of at least having better villains. If you think that this is the best season, more power to you. However, this is a biased perspective effective, as I said from the start, and while I think it's a great series, there are better. Next season is not better than Time Force, but I do think that it's a vastly underrated series, and I'll tell you why when we see the Guardians of the Earth unite in Power Rangers Wild Force.
And there you have it. Well, as he had stated, Time Force was a great series. It really was. It showed, you know, that begged the question: is it morally right to, you know, keep the past the past? Is it morally right to do the right thing? Is it morally right to let go of past things and whatnot? That was basically the moral of this entire series.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. It's whether you not you have the it's whether or not you have the capacity to change what you want to change, or do what you want to do, basically.
Yeah. Bless you.
Thank you.
Well, with that being said, we're gonna end this right now. This was great. I actually got to do a 2-parter with a good friend of mine in one day. So thank God for that. I'll probably smash them together if I probably will do that. That'll be the first time I ever did something like that.
A 2-parter.
Yeah.
Become one.
Mm-hmm. That being said, this has been us. Because I can't keep saying that over and over again. I'll see y'all later.
Peace.